is the open carry movement a male versus female issue? Why is it men who want to carry guns in public and typically not women? Why do we see 2 women versus 2 men on this panel today?
That's a very good question. And the answer is yes, it's a male versus female issue. And the polls show that out. The poll that the Brady Campaign had shows that on a male versus female, strong feelings of feeling that open carry is unsafe, the women are in the high 60% on that. So it is a male versus female issue. I think, and I'm not a psychologist, but I think that women innately or inherently recognize male-dominating behavior. And this kind of behavior is male-dominating behavior. The message is, whether conscious or unconscious, you better do what I say or else. And many men don't feel that way, but women can recognize that. So I think that may be the reason, but the polls and the statistics show that yes, women are much more against open carry.
Mr. Shahab.
Ms. Saldana and Ms. Arntzen live in this fantasy world where they talk about theory. Chow and I, we're actual open carriers. We go to the events, we see women open carry. Granted, right now, the numbers might not be equal, but there are definitely women out there that believe in the right to open carry. If anything, a firearm is an ultimate equalizer. If you look at the size of a person, a woman would be able to defend herself very easily from a person of any size with a firearm. So we need to get any sorts of ideas of women being more, cosmopolitan or more refined than men out of our. And let's just start looking at people as people instead of breaking everybody down into demographics. Because I know earlier she mentioned something about people open carrying more after an African American became president. I'm half Filipino, I'm half Pakistani. I'm no racist. So I don't like some of the insinuations that you're making there.
Mr. Shahab, on the heels of that, in terms of the gatherings that have been held, somebody asked, if the open carry movement encourages personal protection, as you said before, as a matter of personal public safety, why do advocates meet in large groups in public? Is this a political statement that you're making?
When I was smaller, I had an older brother who collected comic books. He would go to comic book conventions. I collected baseball cards. I would go to baseball card conventions. People who have common interests have a natural tendency to want to gather together and discuss stories. I will tell you, when I first open carried, I was scared. I had spent a good month researching the issue, but I still didn't know what was going to happen if I was going to be open carrying. The fact that my first time I open carried and there were 3 other open carriers out there with me, I felt a little safer. I wasn't the only one out there. I had some people there to be witnesses if something happened, and quite frankly, we were in it together. So open carry meetups are a good opportunity for people to share stories about what has occurred to them carrying in their individual lives. And it gives an opportunity for new people to experience what's going on, pick the brains of some of the more experienced people, and have their questions answered so they can feel confident to be able to go forth and carry on an individual basis in their daily lives.
Assemblymember Saldana.
Well, to carry the analogy of collections, there are many handgun collectors. There are many people who enjoy collecting guns because they like the technology of the weapons, they like the history of the weapons. And it has only been recently that people show up not to compare guns per se, not to do the comic book collection or the other collection as was referenced. They are showing up in public places for a very different purpose. Not to exchange guns, because that wouldn't be a proper thing to do out in public. They're there to make a statement. And whereas having a gun, they're saying, equalizes the situation. That's only true if you, likewise, are carrying a gun. So if you are not carrying a gun and you are out in public and you see someone openly carrying, it is not an equalizing situation. It is an intimidating situation for someone who has no way of knowing what is that person's intent, is that gun loaded, and why are they out here in a place that, for most people, doesn't appear to require that safety measure.
Mr. Chang, briefly.
So, to address Ms. Saldana's, statement, then if it's a situation where
sorry,
Thank you.
Assemblywoman Saldana's statement.
Thank you.
Excuse me. Then, in order to address that statement, if you feel intimidated, then I would recommend that you do some research and get some training, and go to the gun range and get yourself familiar with the firearm. And as far as the assertion that men and women, the difference between men and women, is it a men versus women issue? I'll tell you, I don't understand this argument, because I'll tell you, according to our own federal government's Department of Justice National Crime Victimization Survey, Lawrence Southwick, the author, found that women offering no resistance to attack are 2.5 times more likely to be seriously injured than if they were to resist with a gun. Okay? This is our own federal government statistic. This is not something that the pro-gun lobby is making up. This is our own federal government statistic. Okay? You just got to be educated about this and really understand that lawfully armed citizens reduce violent crime.
You're listening to the Commonwealth Club of California radio program. Today we're talking about the growing debate about the right to openly carry guns in public and laws that already allow this in communities in California as well as across the country. Our panelists are Adnan Shahab, Republican candidate for State Assembly and open carry advocate; Karen Arntzen, California Chapter Services Coordinator for the Brady Campaign to Prevent Gun Violence; Yih-Chau Chang, Press Secretary for the Responsible Citizens of California; and Lori Saldana, California State Assembly member and author of AB 1934. Question from the audience. Let's start this one with Mr. Shahab. If even the police misuse of guns, as we're seeing right now in the BART shooting, the Oscar Grant, Johannes Messerly case, is an issue, why should we move toward having more guns in public rather than fewer?
Okay, so in the situation with that BART police officer, he acted inappropriately and now he's facing the consequences. I mean, from what you're telling me is, if you want to eliminate guns, then the logical conclusion would be to take guns away from police officers, and I don't think we're going to do that. So we need to stop working in this realm of theory and giving these what-if scenarios and deal with reality. Gun owners are some of the most responsible people. If you look at the statistics, they don't commit crimes as much as the general population. So don't demonize gun owners as being these menaces to society.
Assemblymember Saldana on that?
Well, the case has just started. Whether or not the officer acted inappropriately or thought he was reaching for a taser when in fact he pulled out a handgun, all of that is being sorted out currently. But it does indicate when the adrenaline is flowing, when tensions run high, even trained law enforcement officers make mistakes in the heat of the moment. And so, again, going back to why in the world would someone want to carry a gun and put themselves and the people around them at risk for that type of situation to occur?
Ms. Arntzen, you have something to add?
I was going to say basically the same thing, but I also wanted to comment on the meetups as being political events. They very much are political events because these folks go out of their way to call the media, ask the media to come and cover them, and then try to provoke. The media then calls the Brady Campaign and wants other groups to respond. But every single meetup that you've seen on television, the media have been called and asked to attend by these groups.
Mr. Shah, do you have something to add to that?
Quite frankly, part of the education aspect of what we are doing as open carry advocates involves the media. Like I said, the first time I became aware that open carry was legal was through a media report. Now, obviously, a lot of people did not see that report. I didn't see that report until it was brought to my attention. So the fact that I'm contacting news media to cover our events is an effort to educate the public about what is legal and what is not legal. So we get your irrational calls to police departments that deal with non-situational